Hey guys, we have a few things to talk about today, including a heat wave in the western United States, a heat wave in southern Europe, and a record cold outbreak across Argentina. So, starting off with the heat wave in the western United States, this is a current look at weather alerts as of July 10th. And all of these colors you see across the west are excessive heat watches, heat advisories, excessive heat warnings. They're all heat related, with a little bit of red flag warnings there for fire risk there in Oregon. But basically, this heat wave has been setting all sorts of records the past few days. For example, Las Vegas broke their all time hottest temperature ever recorded with 120 degrees Fahrenheit, the first time that Las Vegas ever recorded 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 48.9 degrees Celsius. And the old record was 117 degrees Fahrenheit or 47.2 degrees Celsius, which occurred 5 times, and the last time it occurred was during that heat wave in 2021. Also, there was an all-time record high broken in Redding, California. It got as hot as 119 degrees Fahrenheit 2 days ago. And also 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, I should say, Palm Springs, California reached 124 degrees Fahrenheit, which set a new all-time record high there, which is, I believe, about 52 degrees Celsius. Or excuse me, I was wrong. 51 degrees Celsius there in Palm Springs, California. So we're going to start off looking at the 500 millibar height anomalies from the European model. This shows you where you have upper level ridges and troughs. The upper level ridges are in the orange and red color, and upper level troughs are in the. And each one of these lines is called an isohypsy, or a line of equal geopotential height. And once you get an isohypsy line of about 591 dms, for example, right there, anytime you get a 591 dm line and greater, that shows you where you have a pretty strong subtropical ridge in place. Lots of compression of the air, which produces that heat. And it basically tells you where you have a heat dome in place that's going to be causing some extreme heat values. And when you start seeing these darker orange colors and red colors like we see here in Western Canada, that's where we have well above normal geopotential heights, or where we have stronger than usual upper level ridges in place like we have at the moment across Western Canada. We don't really have any strong troughs at the moment. This one right here across portions of Missouri and Illinois was from the remnants of Hurricane Beryl moving northeast across the Great Lakes region today, producing a localized tornado outbreak actually across western Pennsylvania and upstate New York. So starting off today, let's go to this afternoon on July 10th. What I noticed right away is a very strong subtropical ridge over the western United States. In fact, we have a 597 dm line right there across portions of Nevada into Utah, Arizona, and California. That shows we have an extremely strong subtropical ridge in place. Not often you get DMs of 597 or greater, so very strong heat dome in place. That's what's causing this extreme heat that we've been seeing the past several days across the west. Las Vegas also broke their record of most 115 degree days in a row, and that will likely continue for the foreseeable future. We're even getting a streak of 100 degree days for places like Boise, Idaho, something that you don't see quite often. And then so going out over the next few days, that ridge stays very strong out to the west. We still have a 597 dm line even all the way through Saturday, right here around the Four Corners region. So that tells me we're going to have some pretty strong heat in place for all lowland areas of the western United States all the way through this weekend on July 14th. And then even going into Sunday, that 597 isohypsy line gets even bigger right there around the Four Corners region. So that subtropical ridge stays very strong through the whole weekend and going into early next week, where it does start to weaken a little bit going into next week. So we will start to see a little bit of a cool down across the west. Not much. There's still going to be above average temperatures next week because that we still have a 594 dm lines here across portions of the plains and southwest, and here's the 591 dm line right over there, encompassing much of the southern United States going into next week. And then going beyond that into the middle of next week, we even start to see a rebuilding of that ridge out west. Could be even stronger than the one we have at the moment. You can see highly anomalous, above normal 500 millibar heights across much of central and western Canada. This is indicating that we'll once again see well above normal temperatures, maybe even record-breaking temperatures once again around the July 20th time frame beginning for much of the western United States. Basically the same area that's seeing it right now. Could even be a little bit bigger if the European model is correct on this, encompassing well north into portions of western and central Canada. And then what that means for actual temperatures, this is looking at the European model's max temperature forecast starting tomorrow on July 11th, showing temperatures up to still over 115 degrees across the desert southwest, Central Valley of California, even 100s across the valleys of Idaho, eastern Washington, even potentially getting 100 degrees there across Montana. And then even into Saskatchewan and Alberta, Canada, get into the lower 90s or over 33 degrees Celsius there. And then going into Friday, pretty much the same thing. Saturday, still 100s across much of the lowlands of the west. Going even into Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe even maybe a little bit weaker into the middle of next week, but still showing temperatures up to 100 degrees across the valleys of Idaho, eastern Washington, and still getting over 100 across the valleys of California, and then obviously across the desert southwest, still over 110 degrees Fahrenheit. But then with that next heat wave that begins around July 20th, this is as far as the model cycle goes, but it's showing that the heat could be on an upswing across much of the west, again near 110 degrees Fahrenheit, across eastern Washington. This is very far out in the future, and the European model does tend to overdo the heat a little bit once you get around 10 days out, but it's still indicating temperatures easily over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, still across the valleys of Idaho, Oregon, Washington, even getting a little bit more intense there across Alberta and Saskatchewan, Canada, getting over 95 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way into northern Saskatchewan and Alberta, actually, or over 35 degrees Celsius, way far north up there, potentially with that next heat wave around July 20th. So basically, what I'm seeing with this is that the heat, for the most part, stays out west with that subtropical ridge staying in place all the way through the next 2 weeks at least. What that means is we could be still talking about multiple daily record high temperatures for much of these cities, and still getting over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for many of these cities. Even places that aren't as used to it as much, getting many consecutive days in a row over 100, such as Salt Lake City, Utah, Boise, Idaho, Yakima, Washington, places like this. Even getting over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for many days, possibly for places like Missoula, Montana. And so next I want to show you the European heat wave occurring right now, once again looking at the 500 millibar height anomalies. The first thing you notice is the highly anomalous ridge occurring across Eastern Europe with these reddish colors. And then also across the Mediterranean region and into North Africa, we actually have a 600 isohypsy line there across portions of North Africa, and even getting a small little sliver of a 603 DM isohypsy line, showing an extremely strong ridge, subtropical ridge in place there, centered across North Africa. And then that's what's bringing the heat right up into the Mediterranean region, and then pushing even further up into Eastern Europe. Now, the majority of the summer has featured a trough out into Western Europe and a ridge across Eastern Europe. So much of the heat so far this summer has been confined to the Balkans and southern and central and southern portions of Italy, and then maybe far southern reaches of Portugal and Spain. And for the most part, northwestern Europe, like Ireland, France, the UK, they've been having a pretty normal to even a below average temperature summer so far because of that constant troughing that's been in place. And then so going out in time over the next few days, that ridge does break down a little bit over the Mediterranean as we get a trough that swings in across Western Europe and moves its way east very slowly. But as we get into next week, by the July 15th time, we do see a resurgence of that ridge across Eastern Europe, with these 591 DM lines coming as far north and east as Italy, maybe even into the Balkan region there. And then that continues, and then we could even get the European model is even showing a potentially highly anomalous, very strong subtropical ridge developing by around the July 18th time. And by the time we get to around July 18th, the European model is indicating that we could get another extremely anomalous and very strong subtropical ridge to develop right across the Mediterranean region. We have a 600 DM line showing up again here across North Africa, even reaching portions of Spain. Like I said, extremely rare to see a 600 DM line only when you have highly anomalous and very strong subtropical ridges or heat domes in place during the summer. And that 591 DM line right there across much of southern Europe. So this is indicating that we could get another very strong heat wave, potentially even larger than the one we have at the moment, by developing by around July 18th to the July 20th time for much of southern Europe. And then, so looking at max temperatures starting off tomorrow on July 11th, you can see central portions of the Balkans easily getting over 38 degrees Celsius or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Lowlands of Italy getting over 38 degrees Celsius, even portions of Spain. Also here across Romania and Bulgaria, southern portions of Ukraine over 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And then just taking this out of the next few days, more of the same on Friday, July 12th. And then still more of the same on Saturday. Even touching places will probably reach 40 degrees Celsius there, or 104 degrees Fahrenheit on Saturday across portions of Serbia and into Hungary. And then going into Sunday, the majority of the heat stays confined to the central Balkans and moving into portions of Ukraine and Belarus. And then going into next week, gets even a little bit stronger potentially there across the Balkans. Many more places getting over 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And then by the time we get to the end of the cycle, when that next heat wave can start beginning, or that next subtropical ridge that develops across the Mediterranean region, it shows an expansion of that heat, especially across portions of Spain, potentially getting over 40 degrees Celsius, even far southern France, more of Italy getting near 40 degrees Celsius, or at least over 38 degrees Celsius there. Maybe a little bit cooler across the Balkans. I'm only getting as high as 37 degrees Celsius or about 98, 99 degrees Fahrenheit. But for the most part, this subtropical ridge or heat dome will stay in place across the Mediterranean for at least the next 2 weeks and probably beyond. So much of southern Europe will be dealing with temperatures over 35 to 40 degrees Celsius over the next 2 weeks. Something that's been quite common over the past few summers, especially across the same exact area, the Mediterranean region. Easily getting temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius these past few summers now. But other than that, much of northern Europe still remains relatively cool. The Nordic region and also portions of the UK and Ireland still only getting temperatures as high as 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, or only as warm as like 77 degrees Fahrenheit for the most part. And I wouldn't be surprised if some places directly under that ridge in North Africa, such as Algeria and Morocco, they easily get temperatures around 45 to even close to 50 degrees Celsius, more than what this model is saying, or getting temperatures over 113 degrees Fahrenheit, especially once we get that stronger ridge that develops potentially beyond July 18th. And then, so switching gears now to the cold side, we have a highly anomalous trough over much of Argentina that's been causing record cold temperatures these past few nights. Even getting as cold as negative 7 degrees Celsius there in northern Argentina, or 19 degrees Fahrenheit. Extremely cold temperatures. Remember that they are in the middle of winter at the moment. Now, it's most likely being caused by this Balkan ridge, very anomalous Balkan high or upper level ridge over the South Pacific, which is causing the cold air to spill northward into Argentina and much of South America. Now, this cold weather should last over the next few days before that ridge starts to build in across Argentina and puts an end to it by around Saturday to Sunday. And then looking at mostly the low temperatures out of this, anywhere in blue is where we have temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's not often you see it reach this far north in the winter, getting as far north as Buenos Aires, Argentina. Even getting into northern portions of Argentina, into Uruguay. Even getting below 5 degrees Celsius or 41 degrees Fahrenheit as far north as Paraguay and southern Brazil. Something you don't see too often for places that far north into South America, getting temperatures that low. And it continues for the next few nights, still tomorrow night on July 11th and into July 12th. Getting temperatures still below 0 degrees Celsius as far north as Buenos Aires, even into southern Uruguay. Very cold air, very cold temperatures. Something you don't see very often. And then still going into early next week, that's when we start to see a little bit of a warm up finally. And then just for fun, let's see if there's any snow forecasted for this area. And no, I'm not seeing any snow forecasted for Argentina or Uruguay. So it's mostly a very cold, dry Arctic air outbreak for South America. record cold, actually, like I just said. And with that being said, I hope everyone stays safe out there and have a good one, guys. I'll see you next time.